AFM 415 International Study course, and we have 4 students joining us today: Cedric, Katie, Rebecca, and Rosaline. And they're going to share their experience with this course this past spring with you, and maybe help spark some curiosity in you and something that you might want to do in the future.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having us. We just want to welcome you to our AFM 415 International Study Course Crewcast. Today we'll be providing you a brief introduction of our course as well as our personal experiences going through the program. To start us off, let's do a brief introduction of each of our panelists, starting with Cedric.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cedric, and I was part of the Spring 2020 AFM International Online Study course. So I was part of the logistics team, and what I mainly did, or like what my team mainly did, was we were kind of working on a lot of the background stuff of the class. So that includes like scheduling, creating meeting minutes, and organizing the meetings. So those were kind of our main duties throughout the term. So I guess I'll pass it to Rebecca for her introduction.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I'm 3A, and I was part of the meals. Well, it should have been meals team. However, since it was an online course, I was part of the marketing team. And I guess something to talk about is one of my favorite parts of the course. I think being part of the marketing team was just making posters and planning games for every single class we had. And next, I'll be passing it off to Rosalind.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosalind. I'm in my 4A term of AFM, and I was also part of the Spring 2020 AFM 415 course. And I think my favorite part of the course was probably just interacting with the variety of different professionals that we got to meet, and just hearing about their experiences, and especially those who were alumni of UW, and hearing how their career kind of progressed from there. Next, I'll be passing it over to Katie.
My name is Katie, and I'm currently a 3A student, and my favorite part of the course would probably just being able to meet the number of students that you'd meet, as well as they're pretty much people that you normally wouldn't talk to around staff. So you really think with like-minded individuals, just to gain a greater understanding of like business, as well as what everyone's preferences are in life. So just to give you a brief overview of what AFM 415 is, AFM 415 is an international study trip, which is basically a 0.5 credit course to allow you to gain a greater insight into the business world through interviewing top-level executives to even business professionals across a number of different industries. The course is run through the guidance of Professor Steve Balaban, who is also one of your professors this term. However, this course is also very truly student-run. So we basically book interviews, plan marketing ideas, even schedule what we do every day, which is all done by students. So in prior years, pre-COVID, we were booking hotel bookings, interviews, and everything you could possibly think of were all done by students. A typical day within AFM 415 during the week of interviews would consist of 3 debriefs, 3 meetings with various executives, as well as many breaks in between. And you really get an opportunity to network, reach out, and really gain a critical understanding of life advice, or even how these top professionals got to where they are today. And you can quite literally ask them any question you would ever want. So with this course, AFM 415, it's marked on a series of things because it is a 0.5 credit course. So that ranges from participation prep documents, which is basically a 4 to 5 slide PowerPoint, as well as various reflections for each of the interviewers that you have, as well as a mini essay at the end of the interviews. So for us, it was quite long at the end, but it was well worth it because you're able to meet such amazing individuals. So next we'll be going through committee introductions, and I'll pass it off to Rebecca to give us an overview of marketing and culture.
Thanks, Katie. So as I mentioned before, when the course isn't actually virtual, what we have is a meals and culture team. And what the meals and culture team does is that they're typically the ones that looks for entertainment things for you to do on the trip. They also book what restaurant you're able to, what restaurants you guys go to on the trip. And then for culture, you would be making a cultural presentation for the rest of the class to help understand the country's culture and things to make note of when you're actually in the country. However, of course, with a virtual trip, this isn't really possible. So Steve Balaban did with the course is he created the marketing and culture team. So the marketing portion is really keeping up with the Instagram. So if you guys ever looked at the SAF Waterloo Instagram, you could see that there's a story just for story highlights for AFM 415, and you can see various posts. So this may be posting introductions for all the students on the course, or maybe doing a day in the life of a student on the course. So items like that. And then what we also did was we organized games for the beginning of each of our classes, which happened every 2 weeks, just to help us get to know each other and bond a little bit, because we all know that's a bit harder in an online space. The next we'll be passing it to Rosalind to talk about corporate relations.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. So yeah, like Rebecca mentioned, I'm part of the corporate relations team. So I think this was really exciting for me because we really got to kind of gather the interests of our peers. So first, what we did was we kind of took a survey of what the different companies that our peers wanted to talk to and speak with. And then from that survey, we kind of started reaching out to all these different companies and individuals from these companies that we thought would be really interesting to speak to. A lot of them were UW or SAF alumni, as I've mentioned before, which made it a lot easier to establish a point of connection. I think it was really surprising how many people were really willing to speak with us as students and just provide us with their time and their insights. So I think in terms of reaching out, we utilized a lot of different tools. Sometimes we would find people on LinkedIn and connect with them through there. We would use our alumni database with the help of staff and our professor Steve. And sometimes we would just draft cold emails to people that we wanted to speak to. So that was a really interesting and fun experience. And I think it really taught me a lot about how to develop that first point of connection and how to maintain communication with these professionals throughout the course of the trip. Next, I'll be passing it over to logistics.
Yep. So like I previously mentioned, logistics kind of serves as the backbone of the whole class. And so what I mean by that is we have the opportunity to work with all of the other teams. So for example, we work really closely with corporate relations to help with scheduling the meetings. We made sure that none of the meetings overlapped, and we made sure that all of the people we were meeting with received meeting invites so that they were sure that they knew what time they were coming on. And then with the marketing and culture team, we worked with them to ensure that what they have planned for our bi-weekly meetings all worked. We made sure the links to their games worked and all of those logistics made sense. So it was a really good opportunity for the logistics team to kind of meet and work with a lot of these different people. But yeah, so now I'll pass it back to Rosalind to talk about some of the companies that we spoke with.
Thanks, Cedric. So as you guys can see from this slide here, these are a lot of the companies that we got to meet with at the end of the course during our virtual trip. And so you might recognize a lot of these names, as some of them are quite well-established companies. So for example, we have Deloitte, one of the big four. We also have Goldman Sachs and Blackstone. So we really had a variety of different companies, and I think the unique circumstances of the virtual course actually allowed us to reach out to a lot more individuals since we weren't limited to a specific destination. I think that we also reached out to a variety of American and Canadian firms instead of just concentrating in New York, which was where our destination was supposed to be, and also from a wide variety of industries, as you can tell from this slide. So we had individuals in private equity and banking, investment banking, public accounting, and even technology, consulting, and some sports and entertainment as well, such as MLSE. Yeah, so it was really amazing to hear from a lot of these individuals, and they gave us a lot of great advice on how to make the most out of our time at university and how to really discover our passions. It was also really interesting to hear how all these different businesses were coping with the effects of COVID-19 and how they were adapting their technology to be able to keep up with all these changes. I think I'll pass it back to Katie.
Thank you, Rosaline. So just for some clarification, AFM 415 during the winter term as well as spring term is the international study course, and AFM 415 during the fall is the data analytics course, as these are the special topics within SAF. So we now open the floor to any questions or concerns that you might have, or any questions you might have for us regarding AFM 415. So feel free to send it into the chat or to any of the presenters as well. If there are no questions, feel free to also check out the AFM 415 webpage, which is under the School of Accounting and Finance website under SAF International Study Trip. And unfortunately for the 2A students, since you guys are all on winter 2021 co-op, you are unable to apply for 415 during the winter term, but however, you can apply during any future terms where you are on campus and you are in your 2B term or higher. So I'll now pass it back off to Tracy just for you to conclude and continue on with the crewcast.
I think, Katie, there are now a few questions in the Q&A.
Yeah, I can read off some of the questions. So first one I see is, when did you start applying for the course and how was the application process? All right, so I don't remember the exact date for our application, but I'm pretty sure that I applied sometime in late to early winter, or sorry, like late fall, early winter. And in terms of the application process, um, I believe like it wasn't anything crazy. It was kind of like submit your resume, maybe I think there was like a quick description on why you wanted to join the trip and why you would be a good fit. And then if you were selected from the application process, you would then go to the interview process. And um, what we did was we created a presentation about New York and why we wanted to go and how we would fit in. And we presented that to Steve Balaban, and from there we were selected. And yeah, don't worry too much about the specific date of when the applications are, because I'm pretty sure staff will make sure that you remember through your emails and through the My Experience staff portal.
Yeah, and as for applications, the one that is currently open is only for those who are already past 2Bs. Unfortunately, those of you who are watching the crewcast maybe now are in 2A. So the one that is due September 17th, no worries about that one. That's for the winter term. However, keep your eyes open, as usually there's a bit of promotion for the spring trip at the end of this fall term, especially if you are, I'm assuming you guys, most of you are in Balaban's 205 class, he'll likely promote to you there as well. In terms of looking at here's the questions, what made you stand out? So of course, none of us know if there's no like secret formula on how you get selected for this trip. But knowing like my other classmates on the trip and seeing how we all are, I believe just being yourself, especially during the interview, presenting that to both the Zelda and the professor as well as the TA, so they kind of get to know you, as well as being open to experiences and being someone who would really take advantage of these networking opportunities, because there's only going to be, I believe, 12 students taken on the trip each year. So they want to make sure that they're bringing 12 people that will actually ask questions, participate in the course. And they also want people that they'd actually want to bring along with on a trip. Think about it like a job interview. Employers usually hire people that they want to work with. Same thing for this trip. The professor and the TA want to bring on people that they would actually want to go on a trip with.
Yeah, and just to add on to that a bit, thanks, Rebecca. I think something Steve mentioned was just looking for a diverse range of interests. So don't worry if you feel like you're not sure if like your particular area of interest is like what they're looking for. We're really looking for like a wide variety of interests. And I found a lot of my classmates had different co-op jobs or were interested in different career pathways, and that made for a really wide variety of professionals that we got to speak to because of the diverse interests of our classmates. So yeah, just like was already mentioned, just be yourself and really try to express what you're passionate about and interested in.
Yeah, another question I see here is it possible to participate in AFM 415 considering the AFM specializations and electives that you have to take? So for us, AFM 415 was kind of like a sixth course. And as we previously mentioned, we meted bi-weekly, and if courses were taking place in Waterloo, we would be able to meet in person for those, but we just met through WebEx during the spring.
I think, can I
Yep.
add to that, Cedric? I think too, if you're concerned about course selection and what fits and what doesn't, make sure you're reaching out to your academic advisor and spending some time plotting out some plans that you have, if you're thinking about an exchange, if you're thinking about how this course might fit in and other specializations, then Aziza, who you would have worked with Lisa last year, but Aziza, our academic advisor, is back. So Aziza would be the individual you would reach out to, and she can certainly help you map out a plan if you do want to find a way to maybe make this course fit for you. I saw a question that's kind of interesting. If you knew that AFM 415 was virtual due to the pandemic, would you still have taken the course? Kind of an interesting question. Curious to hear your take on the virtual aspect of the course versus the travel aspect of the course.
Honestly, in my opinion, I would still take the course because it's a fantastic opportunity just to network with people you normally wouldn't talk to on a day-to-day basis. And even when we were going in, we thought it would be in person to New York City. However, I guess New York City is now the eye of the hurricane for the global pandemic. So unfortunately, we're not able to go. But I feel like it's an amazing opportunity just to meet new people. And it's a very manageable course as well as a sixth course. So I would definitely recommend taking it, and I'm sure my other panelists could also speak on their own experiences as well.
Yeah, I can add a bit to that, Katie. I think like Katie mentioned, when going in, we thought we were going to go to New York City. And not gonna lie, like I was pretty sad when I found out we weren't gonna be there. But I think looking back, I definitely think it was worth it. Like I can say I would do it again, even if it is virtual, because I think even though we're not there in person, we were still able to learn a lot of valuable things. I think the core components of the course is still there. So really developing these networking skills and learning from these individuals, and also working with such a wide variety of teammates, I think are so invaluable. And like Katie mentioned, it's really not too bad of a workload. I think it's very manageable, and your teammates are always there to help you as well with whatever tasks you need to complete. So I would definitely do it again.
Great, thanks. The last question we'll answer here is the location of the trip different each term, and what are some of the other places the course has taken place? So I do believe it changes each term, the location. I think they've been to Germany. Help me out here on the other. What was the one before that? Does anyone remember?
Trip's also been to Hong Kong, and then the trip before us was planning to go to Singapore, and then when they canceled that one, they're planning on going to London, but then it turned into a virtual trip.
So it does change. So each term has a different sort of focus for that. So to just finish up, I'm just going to ask each of you, Cedric, Katie, Rebecca, and Rosalind, just given that what we know the students on this crewcast are thinking about, which is that job search, and that early question we had about reaching out for coffee chats. And obviously that was a big part of your course, was connecting with people and organizing the interview that was really going to draw out the information you were interested in getting. So maybe each of you could just offer a really short tip to our students of, how do you make that first point of contact, or what are ways to get a conversation started with someone that you want to learn more about? Cedric, why don't you go first?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think coffee chats are something that you should never be scared about. I kind of view them as an opportunity to just meet a friend. That's how I have that in my mentality. So yeah, don't be overstressed and kind of just get to know the person, and don't hope for anything too much.
All right, Katie?
In my opinion, something we learned from the trip from someone who worked at Shopify was be persistent. So oftentimes you'll feel like you want to just send cold emails or sending LinkedIn requests and no one's really answering you. But what we actually learned was don't be afraid to send a follow-up stating if you're free during XYZ time, just to follow up maybe a week or two later, just to see if they're still interested in doing that coffee chat, or if they're even just, for example, if they're ghosting you, then just following up to see if that is a possibility. And then if they don't reply, then maybe look at another source of contacting them. But just being persistent in what you want, because if ultimately there's someone you want to reach out to, just try your best and don't be afraid to gain a personal relationship with them, or even just gaining more knowledge about who they are as well.
Thanks, Katie. Rebecca?
Another tip we learned on the trip also is to reach out to Waterloo alumni, just because these individuals are actually more likely to respond to you because they remember being in your shoes and really leveraging that. And of course, keeping that key information close to the beginning of what messages you're sending. So because one person that we talked to mentioned that when they read these messages, a lot of the time people only read like the first paragraph and then they decide whether or not to continue reading. So making sure that you have that, hey, I noticed that you're water alumni, I'm also an AFM too type of thing in the beginning, and also requesting what exactly you're trying to get out of from this message at the beginning so they know and they don't have to read a lengthy message to really figure that out.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. And Rosalind, can I ask when you're sharing your tip, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, that maybe we address this other question here. Was there a type of question that you really found effective at getting people talking?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think people really like to talk about themselves in general. So I think if you ask them questions about themselves, generally they'll be very open to talking about that, and specifically maybe things about their personal experiences. So I think one question that made for really good open-ended discussion was what was like one really big thing that you learned from your experience at XYZ, or what was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome, or something that you were really proud of. And I think a lot of the people were really happy to share those experiences, especially with students, and you can learn a lot of lessons from those as well.
Great. Thank all four of you. I will mention that Rosalind and Cedric are also PSL champions this term, and so they are part of the team that you'll be connecting with, whether some of them are working with first years, some second years, but they are part of our team and will be there to offer some additional support throughout the term. So thank you all for your questions, and thank the four of you for sharing your experience with us today. Hopefully some people are inspired to think about traveling, whether it's virtual or not. All right, thanks everyone.